be back with you today. It's Jen Majors with LeadHerShip, Stories of Life, Leadership, and Business. I'm excited to be with you today and kind of follow up from our last podcast. Last podcast, we were talking about all things addiction and how that can limit us and keep us stuck. And I wanted to follow up today with a podcast about how we go from that numbing addictive behavior into more of a nurturing behavior and how we find balance with self-care. So we're just going to dig right in. And as we've talked about, in our modern society, it is super easy to fall into the trap of numbing ourselves. It helps us avoid discomfort and pain, whether that be through addictive substances. It could be things like excessive screen time, overeating, seeking constant validation from people or from social media. Things like we talked about having addictions to sex and anything we do that's in excess and in a way that is to keep us from facing what's going on in our life. So any kind of behavior that's a numbing behavior that allows us to have that temporary escape from challenges and uncertainties in our life. We need to also remember that although those numbing behaviors make us feel comfortable and it's providing us some relief, it is temporary. As anybody who has had challenges with addiction knows, that you do the behavior, it's like a vicious cycle, right? So you're feeling pain, so you have the numbing or behave in a or do things that numb you. You have that behavior. You feel great while you're doing it, and then you go right back into feeling terrible. It's usually added with some guilt or shame on top of that, and then you just go into this vicious cycle again of feeling the pain, going into another addictive numbing behavior. And yes, it's providing us some temporary relief for sure. And it's also hindering our growth and preventing us from experiencing true healing and fulfillment. Numbing behaviors, they'll offer little bitty distractions, but they keep us stuck in the cycles of avoidance and denial. So, and we use them instead of facing our emotions. So when we experience big traumas or big events in our life that cause us to have disruptions and to feel terrible, ashamed, to make us feel afraid, all those kinds of things, and we do behaviors that numb those feelings, we are putting a barrier between that and allowing us to get to the root of the pain. It becomes buried beneath layers of the temporary pleasure and distraction that those numbing behaviors create. And so it's important for us, as somebody who's really been challenged with this. I know I'm not the only one. I know there's millions of people challenged with this idea. I really wasn't sure I was capable of really facing what was going on inside of myself. I really, it terrified me really to see what was really there, to start sifting through all that I had going on. I really didn't feel capable of, once I was aware of what was going on, to even know that I had the strength to, even if I was working with a professional, like a therapist or a coach, I really didn't believe in myself enough to know that I had the strength and the ability to be okay, to allow myself to feel it and be okay, that I wasn't going to come unraveled. And it's important. So I'll just kind of caveat this and say that it's very important that as we begin to see what's inside and to start to feel the feelings, that we have a strong support system around us. One, we're not meant to do it by ourselves or on our own. Two, it doesn't have to be necessarily going to treatment, although those are good options if you have them available to you. But you do need to have a strong support system in place, whether that be a coach who is trauma informed or has tools to walk you through different ways, teach you resourcing like breathing, teaching you how to feel your body, teaching you how to move through when big feelings or big situations come up. I know for me, as hard it is for me to admit, especially publicly, when I would be faced with something really huge, a big, huge thing that really caused a lot of upset inside of me, I would just, without even thinking, it was like an unconscious way of being that I would just go searching for chocolate or searching for bread or searching for cigarettes or searching for a joint or searching for my phone so I could get on social media and just numb out and scroll for the rest of the night, or locking myself in my bedroom and just keeping myself from anybody and everything. Really kind of becoming reclusive because all those behaviors are creating a situation of shame and guilt, every single one of those behaviors. And so then it would keep me separate from people. And so just perpetuating this same vicious cycle. And so, yes, there's temporary pleasure, temporary distraction, but ultimately no growth, no freedom, no healing, no real love sinks in. Those numbing behaviors keep our growth really at surface level, keep our healing really at surface level. And by numbing ourselves, we only prolong our suffering and delay the process of true healing, which is where we're all meant to reside. We're all meant to reside in an open healing space, an open space of love. We're meant to move through things together. We're community people where we need each other. So as we go through things, we're meant to use each other for support and guidance. We're not meant to use each other to spew what we got going on. So a lot of what happens in our society and in our relationships is if I'm going through something and I've received bad news or somebody's really caused some upset or a situation's really caused some upset, then our habit in our society is to get with somebody and just spew it and complain and get on the drama triangle about it. That just makes it even worse. What we focus on grows. So then you're focusing on all that negativity that created so much upset. And instead, we're meant to get with each other and partner with one another, but in a way that is supportive and loving and empowering, and to move from victim into creator, and to move from persecutor into challenger, and to move from rescuer or enabler into a coach. And so it's important to recognize that growth and healing require us to step out of our comfort zones and confront our fears and insecurities head on, and to be on the empowerment triangle, and to be empowering ourselves and others. And as uncomfortable as it is so necessary in order to really heal. There's a quote that comes to my mind by Abraham Maslow that says, in any given moment, we have two options. We can either step forward into growth or we can step back into safety. And when we choose numbing behaviors, we're essentially stepping back into safety, perpetuating a cycle of stagnation and complacency. When we find ourselves in pain, whether it be emotional, physical, psychological, our natural human instinct is to seek comfort and relief. And like I just said before, however, true healing requires us to embrace discomfort and uncertainty, to lean into our pain rather than run from it. Our pain is there to teach us something. If pain is in our life, it's because it's meant to be there. If you look down at your feet right now, then I'll do the same. Wherever you are is where you're supposed to be. It's often in the resistance of where we are at that creates the discomfort in the first place. That creates kind of a rigid way of moving forward rather than openness and grace and flow. When we're resistant to what is, it creates pain. We're supposed to experience pain. It's just part of the human experience. It's there to teach us and grow us. We're not supposed to experience suffering. Suffering is optional, remember. And so when we choose to face our pain with courage and resilience, that's when we can really heal and really grow. The beautiful thing is that it's like ripping a Band-Aid off. If you're willing to feel a little bit of pain right now, okay, then it's going to leave much faster than if we sit in all this numbing and all this turmoil and all this drama and all this resistance. If we just let it be and let ourselves feel it and move through it and let it do what it's there to teach us, the miraculous thing is that it moves so much faster out of our lives. We get so much more freedom from it. So numbing behaviors not only prevent us from experiencing growth and healing, but also trap us in this victim mindset like we talked about. And we've talked about victim. Lord knows I've hung out in victim land quite a bit in my life off and on. And it's a place of total depletion. We are supposed to be mighty creators in our life. We have everything we need within us. We often are out there looking for somebody else or for something else to be the answer, when the answer lies right within us in the first place. And when we succumb to that victim mindset and then we begin to numb, we relinquish our power and agency, allowing ourselves to be controlled by our impulses and addictions. And then it perpetuates more situations to then again be controlled by our impulses and our addictions. Instead of taking responsibility for our lives and choices, we become passive bystanders, trapped in a cycle of self-destructive behavior. The key is finding balance and self-care. Choosing yourself, choosing to love yourself, choosing to trust yourself and the people that surround you, choosing to move forward into growth rather than stepping back into safety. Choosing nurturing, choosing ourselves. You know, as I think about this, it just really allows me just this moment, because what I'm thinking as I'm saying these things is, oh, this little voice in my head says, oh, it might be easy for you, but maybe not for me. And maybe that's what you're thinking right now as I say this is, oh yeah, it might be easy for you, Jen. You know, you've come to this place, but not for me. The reality is just to love yourself right in that space. And the truth is that it doesn't really matter where you're at in your life. If it's in your life, it's for you. And so how long do you want to suffer for? That's the question I ask you. How long do you want to take and spend in this suffering? I also ask you to consider if it was your kid or your niece or your nephew or your best friend, what would you want them to experience? Would you want them to sit in discomfort for a long time and numbing and suffering for a long time? Or would you want them to experience freedom as quickly as possible? The other beautiful thing to consider and remember is this other thought is coming in my mind. And for me, I just feel like it's spirit speaking to me that some of us don't think we are supported. And some of us think we are alone. There was definitely a time in my life where I just felt very unsupported and very alone. And remembering what we focus on grows. So if we go into the victim mindset that, oh, well, it might be easy for you, Jen, because you've got a husband and friends and family and but not for me. I'm alone and unsupported. I invite you to consider all the ways in which you are supported. I have a friend who struggles with this idea of being alone. And as I speak with this person and just sharing with this person that I hear you, I hear that you go home at night alone. I hear that you don't have a romantic relationship and you don't have babies. And I invite you to consider all the ways in which you are supported. I invite you to see, like, if you go to the doctor comes in and the nurse is taking care of you. They're working on helping you. I invite you to look at your coworkers and your boss and see all the ways that you're being supported there. If you're using transportation to get to and from work or get to and from anywhere, the bus even shows up and picks us up, and that's a form of support. The ground in which we walk on is supporting us. The chair that I'm sitting on is supporting me. I see all the ways, when I go sit on my couch is rising up to support me. I go outside and the floor is not giving way, or the ground isn't giving way. The ground is there supporting me. I go to sleep at night and my bed is supporting me. And so sometimes we have to break it down to that level, especially when we're really feeling and experiencing what we describe as a lack of support. Because if it's true that what we focus on grows, and I'm walking around the earth feeling defeated and unsupported, then all that's going to show up is more defeat and lack of support. And so to remind myself that I am supported, that not only that, but I am a believer in God, and I am a believer that we are supported divinely, that we are divinely connected, that we're divinely put on this earth and we're given this body for whatever reason, our family of origin and all these things, for our spirit to grow and evolve. That's our job here on earth, is for our spirit to grow and evolve. And so if that's true, then I am supported whether or not I have a couch. I'm supported whether or not I have a bed. I'm supported whether or not I have a roof over my head. I am supported. And so to call on your Heavenly Father, to call on Jesus, to call on angels, to call on the Holy Spirit, to find spaces, safe spaces where you can go and be at. Church is a great space if you've got healthy churches in your area. Getting online and joining groups on Facebook and stuff, for if you're a single mom, for instance, a mom's group. If you're a single dad and you like to hunt, finding like a hunting group or something like that. Finding ways you can connect with other people and design the support in your life. I've got some notes that I'm looking at as I'm moving through so that I don't forget anything. So forgive me for being a little bit distracted there just for a second. developing those nurturing practices that promote growth and promote well-being. And you'll find it's such a miraculous thing that as we do that, our desire to even numb becomes less. I have found that as I've connected with other healthy people in my life and been doing this work and find so much purpose in it and hear stories about how my story is giving hope and all that kind of stuff, it creates more behavior of me wanting to nurture myself, of me wanting to be the person that I have a vision to become, that it supports me and encourages me and motivates me to do more of those things. So another thing you can do is, if being free of addiction and free of numbing is a desire of yours, to find spaces in your life where you can pour into other people, whether that be going to your local food bank and helping fill up boxes, or go and cook a meal for a homeless shelter, or go buy some socks and deliver them, or go have some tea with a good friend um, who doesn't struggle with addiction or numbing. And that's the other piece, is sometimes when we have these behaviors, it keeps us from having relationship with people who don't have numbing behaviors. And it's because of the shame and guilt that's surrounded with it. And I would encourage you to find mentors who are living the life that you want to be living, and spend time with them. Um, Sometimes it can be really uncomfortable to ask those people, and I would just really encourage you. Most of us want to pour into people. Most of us want that connection. We want to be hope dealers, and we want to infuse and deliver inspiration and empowerment. So don't think that somebody who's living the life that you desire, or is the way that you desire to be, doesn't have time for you, or um, just ask and see what happens. And I'm excited for you to do that. Being sure, we talked about all the ways that we are supported, but being sure that the understanding of what true self-care is. True self-care really involves practices that nourish our minds. So doing things like reading, getting off social media, giving ourselves time before bed to be off of our screens so that we can sleep well at night and have consistent sleep. Self-care practices that nourishes our bodies. So what we eat and drink is important. What we put into our bodies is very important. What we do for our bodies. So one of the things, as silly as this is, and as much as kind of like, oh, I don't want to talk about this piece, but one of the things a couple years ago that I found myself really struggling with was like brushing my teeth at night, brushing my teeth and washing my face at night. And I was like, I don't know what the dang issue is, but I find myself like really struggling with remembering to brush my teeth and wash my face at night. And then I judge myself for it. And so just doing those little things like brushing our teeth at night and washing our face at night. And then as I started doing that and released all the shame and guilt I had surrounding that, now I found myself like flossing at night, and I almost never go to sleep without washing my face and brushing my teeth anymore. And now it's become really like just second nature. And, I don't necessarily know where that comes from, except that I wasn't like taught as a kid to do those kinds of things. It wasn't habit when I was a child. And granted, my brother and sister-in-law, when I lived with them, taught me how to do that and would make it like a regular practice. It just wasn't something that I did. And so I've made that part of my practice, and really recognize those successes. That's the other piece, is that when we then do those things, to really honor and celebrate the successes we have, as silly as that sounds, like really giving myself kudos for, dang girl, you've been brushing your teeth at night every night. And dang girl, you've been washing your face and look at how good your skin's been looking. And dang girl, now I'm like, dang, I'm flossing and my teeth are feeling good and looking good, and just being celebratory even when I go to sleep and I lay in bed at night and I feel how clean my teeth feel. just really honoring and celebrating that part of myself. Um, we talked about also having a relationship with our Heavenly Father and stuff, and being connected to our divine spirit. Those are also ways for us to self-care ourselves, is to be connected. We are all divine spiritual beings living this human experience. And so recognizing that we are spirit and filling our spirit. This looks like, for me, not only prayer, meditation, reading, all that kind of stuff, but it looks like for me, like getting connected to nature, listening to the leaves outside, smelling the brisk, like winter weather, especially as it's become springtime. Sitting by a warm fire. Also, like music is spiritual for me. Um, and what else was I thinking about with regard to spirit? There was something else. Well, music, instruments, singing, all that stuff. Doing these things allows us to cultivate resilience, and resilience is what we need in order to heal and move past deep rooted traumas and pain. Then offering ourselves, as we move through this process, offering ourselves self-awareness that does not come with judgment, self-awareness that comes with a lot of compassion and love. The quickest way to keep ourselves stuck in numbing behaviors is to be judging ourselves, period. So I just ask you, don't do it. And if you find yourself judging, just go, oh, that's interesting. Here I am again, talking down to myself. Okay, that's not working for me. I'd like to experience something instead. And just put my hands over my heart space and saying, oh, I love you, Jen. You're doing amazing. Here you are showing up again. Way to be, sister girl. You might not be showing up in the body that you want to be showing up yet, but you're on your way. Look at you. Amazing. And doing all these things that allows us to have some inner peace and allows our nervous system to calm and actually have resting and recovery behaviors and feelings so that we can move through life and not be so reactive and not be so quick to move into a numbing and addictive behavior. Now that I have these tools of resourcing and these tools of really having the awareness of what's going on inside of myself, it's been so amazing that as I have awareness, it's so quickly for me, it's so quick and easy for me now to move from judgment into acceptance, that I find myself so much easier. I find myself having so much more grace and ease to move into a healthy behavior rather than a numbing behavior. I find myself wanting healthy behavior much more than I've ever wanted, than I've wanted numbing behavior. And this is coming from somebody who not that long ago could not even clear my mind enough to think of anything healthy. That just give me what I need to calm myself down and I'm going to be fine. And anybody who has struggled with addiction understands that feeling, like your brain just doesn't have access to the positivity because you're just in this cycle. And so I've done some work to be able to change the neuroplasticity of my brain, and I have created some pathways in my brain, some new pathways in my brain, so it's easier for my thoughts to go to a more positive way of being, and really has come so graceful and easily through this idea of compassion and love and letting go of judgment and moving into acceptance. So, my precious friends, I want to just encourage you that if you're experiencing numbing situations, well, welcome to the club. I'm excited to be partnered with you and to be pouring into you and to let you know how lovable and loving you are, how amazing you are. You are here And if you're here and experiencing what you're experiencing, it's because you're meant to. And so welcome here. I'm excited to love and accept you just as you are. And I hope that you do the same. I am excited for you to find resources, whether it be through this podcast, through coaching, through therapy, through going to the doctor, through partnering with other men and women in your area, and to be supported in your endeavor to break free from numbing behaviors and move into nurturing, loving, growth based behaviors. Is it going to be uncomfortable? Yes, it's going to be uncomfortable. Is it worth it? Yes, it's so worth it. Just going to remind you, it's like pulling a Band-Aid off. You pull that Band-Aid off and it's painful for just a moment, but then it's gone. There's no suffering. The suffering resides in the resistance. So choose yourself today. Choose nurturing, choose love, choose compassion, choose growth, choose to let yourself get uncomfortable. And I'm excited for you to see what happens next. Until next time, my friends, be blessed.